Howdy doody. Welcome to episode 147 of TDI. This is Dr. O on the horn to start per usual. However, this is not your typical TDI. We have no Ricky Flicks. His Joe DiMaggio streak of consecutive shows has ended. Dr. O is now the record holder with 147 consecutive episodes, right?
147, huh?
Most consecutive. 147. And you hear an alternative voice on this podcast for House of the Dragon. So let's give him a proper introduction. Right? You heard his voice. May I introduce a Game of Thrones enthusiast, a self-proclaimed aficionado. May I introduce Lord Ali, second of his name and Warden of the South, Mr. Awn Ali. Welcome to the Driving Podcast. It's an honor to have you.
What's up, boys? Thanks for the honor, David. It's going to be a pleasure. Hopefully I can fill
It's
in.
Doctor here, David.
My apologies, Doctor. But thanks for the invite. Looking forward to it.
So I talk with Awn pretty regularly about Game of Thrones. We had a long exchange about the last episode. He's tested me out with all his theories. I can tell he's been scouring either Reddit pages or he's just deep into Twitter or on YouTube, right? He is a self. Yeah. So this is what I want to get to. Like, if you call yourself an aficionado, I just want to know your relationship to Game of Thrones. Were you watching live as it was happening, right? Starting with season 1 back in 2011? Were you a newcomer to the show, like maybe after it aired? Did you jump in 7 and 8 when it was at its hype in terms of the Twitter engagement that it was getting and online engagement that it has and it's generated? I just want to know what's your relationship with Game of Thrones?
Yeah, so definitely not a day one watcher. I did not start live when season 1 came out. I started watching Game of Thrones season 5. I binge watched from season 1 to season 5 within a couple weeks to a month, maybe a little bit longer than a month. I mean, it is a lot of content. There's some long episodes, some long seasons. I remember watching live to the point where Jon Snow gets betrayed and murdered. And I remember the season ending with him laying there with the sign like traitor, and everyone going crazy, like, oh my God, they killed Jon Snow, they killed Jon Snow. I remember at that time, like the books were still up with the show. So like people knew that he was going to come back. So that hit Twitter and like everyone had like a sigh of relief. Like, okay, he's going to come back. He's going to come back. So my Thrones journey started live from then on. I remember some major episodes, obviously Battle of the Bastards, that, lasted really long with me. Great episode, shot very well, great battle scene. When you think like Jon Snow is actually going to lose, I mean, it's Game of Thrones, so you can never really think the hero's going to win in the end, but then out of nowhere, the Veil just comes, saves them. Out of nowhere, he kills Ramsay. Sansa has her moment. I was a very big season 7 fan. I didn't think that they had ruined it yet. But
Agreed.
Yeah, once it ends, obviously bad taste in my mouth, overreaction, never going to watch this again. How could they do this? They ruined the show. I'm done with it. Martin's never going to finish the books. It's over. We had our run. Always looked on the spoilers when it came to this series is dropping here, this series is going to drop there. I know that they had like a failed $30 million project where they didn't even bother going to like episode 2. And then
Scrapped it. Yeah.
I'd say like 5-6 months ago, maybe a year now, trailer drops, news drops, House of the Dragon. Instantly back in. It was maybe a millisecond to 2 milliseconds of doubt in me, and then boom, I'm back in it. Dude, I'm so obsessed with like the regular Game of Thrones that I legitimately just watch like reruns of YouTube clips.
I regularly am watching random episodes of Game of Thrones. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll pick up like season 3. Or I'll go Battle of the Bastards pretty regularly. And then I'll just do like a double feature going into like Cersei like blowing up, right? What's up? The what's it called? What'd she blow up? Oh, was it the Red Keep? It was like I thought she was. It was what she trapped her.
That might not have been Red Keep. It was King's Landing where they wasn't the Red Keep, was it?
It was like a High Sparrow and everybody.
High Sparrow, they're all like chilling at that point. All the what is it? Martells are there. But
yep.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called.
But I think it's fascinating that you jumped in during season 6, because season 6, that's where it's like I think it would also like reached a new level, because that's when the whole Jon Snow, is he dead? Will he come back? It felt like it was generating something special. Then we have the long gap in anticipation for season 7 and then season 8. It was crazy. Like I wish I was into Game of Thrones watching live during that moment, because I remember feeling left out even then, right? Feeling left out. So end of season 5 into season 6, right? So at that point, like people are saying like, "Oh, you look like Jon Snow." I'm like, "Who the hell is Jon Snow?" And then I started watching it. Like, this guy is freaking amazing, and this whole show is spectacular. And I wish I was in there in 2011. Like, there's something special about saying I was there from the start, and like all the travels, right? I can really say 7 and 8 didn't live up to the hype, but to be honest, season 7, I agree with you. Actually, I enjoyed it. Season 8, I tried to like it. Like season 8, I'm like, I feel like I was just forcing myself to like it, and I haven't returned to it since. Just reflecting on that, it really did leave a sour taste. I can't imagine for someone like you that was in before, or someone that's back in 2011. You know,
I mean, it didn't do it for me, man. It was not it for me.
So I do want to ask you what your thoughts are on House of the Dragon, because you said they had you hook, line, and sinker from the trailer. Right, I was a little skeptical even after the first episode, and to me they were playing it safe a little bit. But clearly, after this episode, this was my favorite. They're really going pedal to the metal here.
So far,
nice.
I also thought that they were kind of making it a little too fan friendly, in the sense that they were kind of just giving us everything we wanted. They were a little lacking of drama, to be honest. I'm not sure if that was because it's only focused on one house versus like Game of Thrones. Like, you have instantly so many different storylines. Like, I feel like when I got into Game of Thrones, it was way more confusing off the bat, like to kind of take in everything. This is a lot different. Like, you have so much more back knowledge of the houses, like the West, like Westeros, the world, like how the kingdoms work, like the pecking order, like how people interact. So people just have to come in with so much more back knowledge. So maybe that's like playing a little bit more to our opinion of the show. But I agree, it started a little bit slow. It was lacking a little bit of drama. I thought that they were lacking. Like, Game of Thrones just came off strong with like some really good characters. You had Ned Stark, you had Jon Snow. You had like Arya, which was a fan favorite, like Jamie, which like I don't, obviously you didn't like, but he was an interesting character. Like the King Robert. You had a bunch of knights like in the beginning with the Hound. You had Robb. I felt like with the House of Dragon, they kind of pinpointed like a few characters, like Rhaenyra, the king himself, Daemon, and that was kind of it. So a lot more, or a lot less information to follow, which I think is a lot different than Game of Thrones, and a little bit less drama as well. But I really loved this episode. I thought this episode was the best one so far. I feel like it finally kind of stepped up a little bit right before like the time skip. So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's at the level of Game of Thrones yet. I don't think so, but it's not a bad first season. Again, our reactions when only Game of Thrones season 1 had come out. Who knows if we would even liked the show at that point? So, it's been good so far, I think. How about you?
I was skeptical at first, right? I said that about the initial, like the premiere, but I thought very similarly to you that they were just kind of playing the hits. What is the fandom like familiar with? And even the characters that are being introduced are easily comparable to the old Game of Thrones. And then like they're gonna have like the brothels, they're gonna have the sex scenes, they're gonna have like the political drama and like the pulling the strings in the background, like all familiar hits. But I feel like these last 2 episodes, it's finally doing what I want the show to do. It's taking on its own identity, right? And then we're gonna have the time jumps that are not familiar, right? Too, like the pacing is a little bit different than the original Game of Thrones. And then we're going to have like the actors being replaced, right? That's going to be something that we're going to talk about with the reaction episode, because I think it's a shame we don't get to see like Emily Carey and Alcock. I forgot what her name is. I think it's Lily Alcock, who plays Rhaenyra Targaryen. I think it's starting to like, yes, it's going to play similar beats, but here we go. This is House of the Dragon. This is how it's different. Like even when they had like the theme song, and it's the same theme song, I'm like, I wish they did something a little bit different. All right. But once again, you had the fans hook, line, and sinker from the beginning, and now you can kind of go from there. I think it's progressing to do its own thing.
A lot of the main characters right now are young, and they're about to take the jump to become more like adults rather than young adults. So that's obviously going to change our perspective on everything as well. Another thing to talk about, like how they were kind of playing to the fans, like even in like the battle scene with like Daemon versus like the crab feeders, like it felt like just one of those like movie fight scenes where, you know, like like
felt like season 7.
Yeah, like he got shot with some arrows and he was like limping a little bit, but like, you know, like he just ended up always winning in the end. Like it was dope. It was dope. I love the scene. He walks out of the cave with just the crab feeder. I love how they actually didn't show the fight and they only showed him just walking out bloodied with like the crab feeder's like head in his hand. That was like kind of different. I liked how they did like the little spin on that, but it kind of just felt like almost you kind of knew what was going to happen, and that's not Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is supposed to be like edge of the seat, you not knowing what's going to happen, and not to like kind of jump into this episode too quick, but when they're in like the weddings, like the dinner scene, and you hear a commotion and you don't know what it is, and then randomly you start seeing like bodies flying, fists getting thrown, and it's just Sir Christian Cole, like, and that was just jaw dropping, and that was finally like the same type of reaction I used to get from Game of Thrones that I hadn't had happen yet, because everything was just, you know, predictable. Like I kind of knew what was going to happen, and they might have had like a few things that, you know, had you like a little surprised, but nothing was this episode, I think.
Couldn't agree more. Like the unpredictability of Game of Thrones is what sets it apart from any other franchise, show, movie. It's not going to have that Hollywood ending that you expect. You know, it's going to give fans that shock factor. And this episode, it did give me that shock factor. I'm watching the wedding and I'm watching the commotion, and I see Daemon grabbing Rhaenyra, looking like they're about to make out. The king's watching. He can't see. You really have the point of view of the king in that situation. Like you're bobbing left and right. What exactly is going on right now? I'm covering my head. I'm just like, what is happening? Because you're just dying to find out. And that shock factor, it definitely was there. But let's go and let's recap where we left off episode 4 into episode 5. So Daemon sneaks off with Rhaenyra. Daemon returning to King's Landing makes amends with Viserys. So Rhaenyra sneaks off with Daemon. They go to a couple taverns. They go to a brothel. They go to a show, and they end up hooking up. Okay, the two are seen by a messenger that goes to Otto Hightower and reveals this bombshell, right, of a headline. Rhaenyra then goes that same night, hooks up with Kristen Cole, the commander of the King's Guard.
She was feeling it. She was really feeling it.
Dude, kind of whoring herself out a little bit. Whoring herself out. She was feeling it. I blame it 100% on Daemon telling her, and I think Daemon like instills that confidence in her, you know, and now she feels like she has that
dragon.
She can do whatever she wants. Oh yeah, she is the dragon. She's the next dragon. But yeah. Otto, once he finds out this information from the messenger, notifies Viserys, right, of this relationship that is beginning to brew. The king's livid, refuses to believe the rumors. Daemon is then brought to the king and reveals that he wants to marry Rhaenyra, okay, to her dad, tells her he wants to marry his niece, okay, and then control Westeros once the king dies, right? Line of succession goes to them. The king, right, obviously not receptive of this, sends Daemon away. The king then relieves Otto Hightower from his position of Hand of the King because he can't trust him. Finally, he finds out that Otto is the snake that the audience knew the entire time. Us as the audience, right? That irony there. Duh. Get rid of this dude. Rhaenyra then meets with the king in a tension-filled scene. Rhaenyra denies sleeping with Daemon. The king isn't sold. Arranges a marriage between her and the Prince of Valeria, right? Son of the Sea Snake, Sir Laenor, which we're going to dive into with his character as well. We get to know him a lot more through this episode and obviously in the future here. The king then gives Rhaenyra what appears to be Westeros' version of Plan B, right? It gets like this tea that's going to basically eliminate a potential baby that Daemon, right, has with Rhaenyra, if in fact like they did have sex, evidently not for the audience, but King doesn't trust her. Then, right, going from there, you get cliffhanger ending onto this episode. So I want to get your initial thoughts. Do we just jump to the wedding? Do we just talk about the wedding? I feel like that's like just hanging over our heads the entire time.
I can shoot you a few things before. So initial reaction right off the bat was finally we're seeing some more kingdoms. So I liked how they introduced the Vale right off the bat. I mean, obviously from Game of Thrones knowledge, know Vale, very up in the mountains. Almost impossible to invade the way that the castle is built. I think they mentioned that in like the original show as well. So I like how they start off in another kingdom. They show obviously Daemon's wife at the time off the bat. Definitely threw me with a little surprise. He does show up a little sketchy with the hood over his head, and I'm thinking like, okay, they're making him seem a little dangerous, but this is his wife. Maybe they're going to have a little bit of banter back and forth and then maybe like a cordial reunion. No. She seems pretty smart. She seems like a good person, pretty good-hearted. Again, every single time I want to like Daemon and every single time I want to root for him, he just does something so shitty and so just rotten, honestly, is the only word to describe it. And I just completely flip on him. So just blatantly murders his wife out of nowhere.
Not blatantly, like there's some question to like how this happened, like there's obviously the threat of Daemon there, right? He's coming in with the hood, he looks menacing, right? And we kind of like it's kind of up in the air what he was trying to achieve by going to see, right, his wife, and then ends up she falls off the horse, like she cracks her skull. And then he puts her out of her misery, quote unquote. But she also has that final jab at him that makes him just say, "I feel no remorse in doing this." But I do want to say, Daemon, like I'm having a hard time believing, like typical Game of Thrones style, that we're gonna end up like rooting for him at any point, that he has zero redeeming qualities. Right, so far through 5 episodes, I can't see myself at the end of season 1 saying, "Hey, I kind of respect him. I kind of like him." I'm just like, this guy's a scumbag.
The reason why I'm holding out is I just watched an interview one time of George R. Martin answering the question of who was his favorite Targaryen, and he answered the Daemon, and the reason why he chose him was because of how conflicted he always is of either rooting for him, rooting against him. So that's one thing. And then, I mean, obviously no spoilers, but he obviously does play a pretty big role to come. So that's why I'm kind of just holding on for him. But complete shitbag of a dude in this episode, at least. I love the jab she takes, how, you were never able to finish the job. Obviously, you can see in the show.
He finished the job all right.
He finished the job there, but I think she was taking a jab at his, like, sex game or something. But about him not ever being able to finish in the bedroom. Or maybe that was it. Maybe I...
So you... whoa. So wait, actually, you're trying to make a little connection here from last episode.
Yeah, so I think that when she's laying there and he walks away and she says, what was exactly her quote? Typical of you to not be able to finish or something like that. I think that he just has a reoccurring issue where he, one, cannot perform the bedroom or finish, and it's reoccurring with all of his partners. You see it with his whore in the beginning of the season. You see it with Rhaenyra. I mean, obviously I'm foreshadowing here, but it seems like his wife has also run with this issue or something like that. So
they never consummated the marriage.
So they have no kids, so maybe he's just not able to perform there or something like that. So it's
interesting you said that, because I initially thought, like, when he goes limp during like the situation with Rhaenyra, he obviously is attracted to her, and then he obviously wants her to be his queen, right, in the line of succession, and he wants to be with her, but he can't perform. Is that because he's like, I thought it was like he's conflicted over like the fact that it is his niece, and like the relationship, the dynamics have changed completely now. But also, you just bring up, this is a recurring issue. Maybe he's fighting some personal or inner demons that really aren't coming through, right, other than through a sex game that the audience sees,
So me personally, I don't think he wants Rhaenyra. I think
He
he
wants the
more
throne.
wants. I think he wants no, not even that. I think
Oh,
his motive behind Rhaenyra are strictly to spite the king. I think he may find her attractive. I think there's might have always been some chemistry between both of them, some lust. Obviously, when he sees her after his battles with the crab feeder, he mentions like, you've matured these last few years. He obviously wants to bone her, but I think more than anything, out of his attraction towards her is despite his older brother, and he knows that that is the one way he can get underneath the king's skin. So, but then again, I mean, he probably does have some actual feelings and attraction towards her as well. They obviously have a past, and he shows up to the wedding. Very funny how he just shows up last second. The king has banished him and then ran
the
away.
king's
He's
like,
like,
gosh, shit. I guess
yeah,
he's here again. God damn it.
yeah, give him a seat, give him a seat. And he just sits at the corner of the tables there as a boss. But yeah,
Yeah. So it's, I think, like I think there was some chemistry, even like going back to episode 1. He gives Rhaenyra the necklace, and then they see each other in episode 4. He's staring at the necklace, and like the way he's looking at her when she's dressed as the page, and he's Hoodie Damon, and he's like looking at her like from the side. Like there's definitely an attraction there. I think they're gonna dive more into it's definitely there. I think that despite his brother, I think somewhat because his brother was embracing him again. Like he came back and he was banished, right?
it seems like his
Not
brother
banished, but he
always
was sent
embraces.
away.
It seems that no matter
Yeah.
how many times he banishes him or is mad at Damon, he will eventually just forgive him, embrace him, and then give him another seat at whatever table he's hosting. So, and I think Damon knows that. I think he knows no matter how many times he fucks up, that his brother will forgive him, and he kind of has like that, golden ticket that I can get away with almost anything. And it seems like he has. He literally fucked his daughter, and came back, and the king gave him a seat. So
He just goes completely unchecked. It's just like the king has no control over him, and that's probably why he sent him away. And like he's sick of all these these headaches, as he said in the previous episode. He's talking to Rhaenyra. Viserys is sick of these distractions, and he's not able to rule the way he wants to. And it seems like every time he wants to do something special and be remembered in the histories, as he says, right, it just gets messed up completely. There's an interesting quote where he's talking one-on-one with his new hand, and he says, "How do you think the histories will write about me?" I'm like, dude, like every time, like you could have like a career highlight, something to put put up in the banner. It just like ends tragically. Whether you go on the hunt, they talk about Rhaenyra, the line of succession, and now this wedding, right? It just seems like when you look at it, he literally has not achieved pretty much anything, right? By the time that from the time that at least we've seen this show. So how do you think he's going to be remembered? Worse?
I mean, we'll see about that. One thing I did want to touch about is why he always forgives Damon. Is I feel like he feels that he has no real friends or partners right now in life. For example, if you look at Ned, Ned has a clear heir in the beginning of the show, Robb Stark, loyal son, spitting image of Ned, good head on his shoulders. He knows he's confident once he's gone, like Robb will be able to take over. Two other sons, Bran, Rickon, multiple sons. Jon Snow is there as a bastard. He has multiple daughters. He has, a younger brother in the Night's Watch, connections there. He's best friends with the king. He has multiple connections with the Vale. He has comrades that he went to war with during the rebellion that, dude, when you go to war with people, they'll have your back forever. For example, when he's fighting the knight that's protecting his sister, the man who stabs like the knight in the throat, again, like one of his brothers for life. The king right now in House Dragons, he's been in no wars. He's had no conflicts. He's never been in any hardship with anyone by his side that he can build that trust, that he can build a relationship with. Ned and Robb, the reason why they're best friends to the end, they went to war together. But when you go to war with someone, like you build a trust with them. You're out long nights. You're in bad situations and get through it. Viserys doesn't have that. His true love of his life gone. He has one daughter who is like a rebellious, like wild child right now. He has no real relationship with. His second wife is like 40 years younger than him, who he's like just humping at this point. He fired his supposedly best friend Hand, who he trusted. The new Hand seems like a good guy, capable of the job, but the relationship seems a little distant between the two. So I just feel like, opposed to someone like Ned, he doesn't have anyone that he can trust, other than really Damon, his younger brother, who it seems that no matter what he does, he's always going to forgive. Maybe just because he has no one else that kind of can trust at this point.
Yeah, so it definitely seems like he's on an island. He's isolated, and it seems like every decision he makes, he's worried about his legacy, but at the same time,
Yep.
he's like also making these decisions to hopefully like extend like the Targaryen reign. And that even comes into question, right, when we go to Valeria, right? When we go to the arranging of the marriage between Sir Laenor and Rhaenyra, where you have Corlys there, right? You have the queen that never was, and then you have this proposal by Viserys himself, and he's even being disrespected when he goes to Valeria, where the Corlys, the hand of the king, is like, "Where's Corlys right now? Where is he right now? He should be meeting the king." And then like Lena, we're going to talk about her in a bit too, because I have some good predictions for her character in the future.
Oh,
She says, "Oh, he just got back from a long trip. You're going to have to go see him over there." Like telling the king that, like, and obviously they got beef from episode 1, right? When we got the meeting of the King's Council, we talk about the situation with the crab feeder, Damon coming to the rescue to help out, and then Viserys late to the party sending troops when the fight is already over. So I do want to talk about, just recap this meeting, and then we'll dive into Valeria. First of all, you made a great point about Valeria. The fact that it was like almost like relating to what we've seen previous Game of Thrones. Like we've heard about the Valerian steel. We have seen, right, this setting before, but under different circumstances. It's abandoned. You got like obviously Daenerys coming back there. Okay, Jon Snow eventually making his way over there too. Here, it just looks gorgeous. It looked like, if you watch Rings of Power, it looks like that type of setting, like bright, and then it looks like very unlike.
Not sure why, but the castle was a little underwhelming. I thought it was going to be a lot bigger, but beautiful area. Seems like they're very big on the Navy. Sea traders, obviously, and everything seemed old. Like the Valerians, they seem like they've been around for a while.
Tradition.
Yeah, exactly, tradition. I mean, the king mentions.
I just want to go over the deal that's made. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He like mentions like how their halls are like historic, and they're always been like memorable and stuff like that. So, but yeah, keep going. Sorry.
I just wanted to just recap the deal that's made. The deal's made where Corlys actually wants the Valerians to be basically the next dynasty for Westeros, and wants the baby that will be had, right, apparently, judging by like the previews for the next few episodes between Rhaenyra and Sir Laenor, right, deals made where the child is going to be Valerian. But when it's time for the child to be king or queen, probably a king, but when they're going to take the throne, they're going to be a Targaryen to continue the legacy, right? So do you think like Corlys is out of bounds here, or just continues the beef that started in episode 1?
Corlys has balls. He is one of the few people that has balls in the show. So I think that he is going to take as much and bite as much as he can until someone pushes back. So he would probably have been fine without saying anything and just giving his son to the king as a marriage, prospect, and been happy with that. And essentially his plan would continue pretty good, but he wanted to get a little bit more on there. He obviously wanted to get a little bit back on the king for dubbing his daughter in marriage. So I think that had a little bit to do with it. And then I think
his wife, like line of succession, like, and like things like that. The queen that never was.
It seems he obviously cares a little bit more than his wife does. It seems like, she mentions that she got over it, but he still hasn't gotten over it. He has that second son syndrome. Growing up, always, was second to the fiddle. It seemed like his older brother inherited the heir or whatever. So he always seems like he needs to fight for something and kind of get what was that he deserved but wasn't given to him. So he's a power hungry at this point. So I do like his wife though. She gives me good vibes. She seems like she has a good head on her shoulders, not really evil, and kind of has she actually cares for the king. It seems like as like a cousin. I'm not sure if she's faking that or if it's genuine, but I do like that. So no, I don't think he oversteps too much. I think that he tried to see what he could get away with, and he got away with it. The king seems like in a vulnerable state. Seems like he needs Rhaenyra to have a good match, a powerful match. He knows that their son is that, so he doesn't really have much leverage here. So I feel like the sea snake sees that and he takes advantage of it.
And I think, like, also, like you mentioned, Corlys is supremely confident. It always seems like he also has a chip on his shoulder every time he's talking with the king, where it's like, okay, like this is like a power dynamic thing right here. I'm not gonna let you big time me. I am still like the sea snake, and see what I built in Valeria and things of that regard. Like my wife should be queen, and you said it. Like I like the queen at the beginning, or the queen that never was. Excuse me. I was getting vibes that she might become a villain of this show, but this episode totally like flipped it for me. I'm just saying, oh, she's accepting of this, right? She wants peace. She wants what's best for her son, right, and her daughter. And so this arranged marriage is probably just the best thing for their house, and just to have a king, right, on the throne in Westeros, not on the throne, but a king in Westeros, a huge deal, right? And he's not out of line, because what is the history, right, of female queens, like females on the throne of Westeros? There is no history of that. So I think it just makes sense what he proposes. And you mentioned like how weak the king looks right now. Like he is sweating, beats of sweat down his face the entire episode. Like he wasn't even like, he is like, exactly. He's like literally in like throwing up on the ship. Like, is he seasick? No, he's just dying, right? And then when you go from there, like he looked like if he got the vid, he's over. He's done.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, no.
That's how much he's sweating, right?
The Vax would kill him.
Did you see? Yeah. Did you see the preview for next episode? Like shocking, right? Still alive, but he looks like
I thought he died at the wedding. I thought he died at the wedding at the end of the end of the episode. He just passed out. I was like, did he just die?
That would have made sense. Like just a heart attack, like just heart failure, done. Like he just can't take anymore. That would have been, I think, a good ending for him. I can't believe he was still alive at the end.
One thing on the sea snake's wife was, I think it was like episode 2 when she has the little conversation with Rhaenyra, and she like mentions about like a woman sitting on the throne. Initially, you think that she's coming like with like a sense of spite, and like she's almost coming out as like a villain component, but she's actually just giving good advice. It seems that like she cares, she knows what she's talking about. She probably would have been a better ruler than our current king. She seems that she just has a better mind.
100%.
But obviously the whole women and men aspect, and she actually is the child of the elder brother after the last king. So technically, if you were to go like who deserves it, like in lineage wise, she does over the current king, but since he's a male, that's why he got chosen, I guess.
Right. And she definitely seems more composed. Like she is emotional, but it doesn't seem like her decision making is emotional, right? The emotion that's coming forward that we see for pretty much the first time is through this interaction with Corlys and the way she's able to calm him. And it seems like they are great rulers. And they're very wealthy. They have a lot of power. It seems like everyone wants to be with House Valeria at this time, a house that is extinct by the time we're getting Game of Thrones. So this is like the idea of seeing different parts that you're talking about, different kingdoms. And like this is what's going to drive us. Like, hey, this is something you haven't seen before. And this is an aspect that maybe you thought, right, you already had your preconceived notions, right, from the original Game of Thrones. Now, right, let's see who actually was there and see the dynamics they had with the Targaryens for all these centuries,
I think it was even strategic that he sent his daughter out to meet the king when they first land. Like, hey, this is what you could have had, and you passed up off, like almost like a slap in the face. Like, listen, he did not get that.
Showing her off. Like, look.
I swear that he's that kind of sicko. Yeah, she was pretty gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie. Like that actress, whoever she is.
Yeah, of course. No. Yeah, he literally. That's great. Mind games.
It's all mind games. It's all mind games.
I did want to talk about later on, right, while they're in Valeria, at least where the show is taking place at that time, and they're kind of going back and forth with Alicent and what's happening with Kristen Cole and everything. But Rhaenyra talks to Sir Laenor, right? They're cousins, which is interesting because we have a situation where Viserys is judging Rhaenyra, obviously, for hooking up with her uncle, the king's brother, Daemon. And then, like, okay, let's have an arranged marriage. Let's calm things down. You're just going to marry your cousin. And, like, then we're all good. You know, like it's just much more natural. That's, like, the most Game of Thrones thing of all time, where you want to just go to another more proper incestuous relationship.
Well, that actually might show why the king wasn't as mad as he maybe should be. Like, his younger brother pretty much raped his daughter, and yeah, he like banished him, but he really wasn't that pissed off. And then he then goes and proposes.
He was in the moment with the knife to his neck.
Yeah, I mean that was more of like a power move, like, hey, listen, you're my younger brother, still remember that. But I feel like even he like understands that that's just the Targaryen way, that they just marry each other. So if Daemon wasn't a piece of shit and like a good guy, I could see him approving Rhaenyra marrying a brother of his in a perfect world, I think. I'm not sure.
In a pretty imperfect world, I'd say.
Yeah, in a perfect Targaryen world. In a perfect Targaryen world.
Exactly. But I do want to talk about the interaction between Rhaenyra and Sir Laenor. So basically, Rhaenyra proposes an open relationship, like when they during an arranged marriage. You watch Succession at all?
I do.
So like it gave me very much like end of season 1 vibes with Tom and Shiv, like in the like literally days like on the wedding night, saying, "Hey, let's have an open relationship." That's what it was kind of going here, but it's much more understanding between the two ways, way more consensual. Then we find out that Sir Laenor is a homosexual. He's gay with this dude named Joffrey. And when you hear that name, like heads start spinning in Game of Thrones, like holy shit! Like this.
It took me a minute to get the duck and goose analogy. I was thinking more they were talking like racially, like black and white, and then I realized, oh, it's not racial. It's more, I like men, you like men. That's what they were mostly talking about. With
you want to know what the quote was? Like I wrote it down because I'm like, this is gonna be a quote that we got to say. It's each of us dines as we see fit. Yep, I don't care what your flavor is, and that's her just saying off the bat. This is strictly for succession, power dynamic, right? This is how it's gonna work. We'll take care of our duties, but I'm gonna choose. And you don't know what's going through Rhaenyra's mind, where it's like, does she want to keep seeing Kristen Cole, or does she want to keep seeing Daemon, or even both? It just seems like Rhaenyra's just. I think she's just carrying over the confidence from episode 4, where she feels like she can do whatever she wants. And I think it's like the power that she's kind of lusting over more so than a Kristen Cole or Daemon at this point.
So Joffrey, is he a knight? Is he what is he?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I just know he's obviously had this long time relationship with Sir Laenor. So I definitely did not see him playing a major factor at the end of this episode. I thought this is someone that's going to linger for a little bit. It almost gave me vibes of like just, I guess when you talk about natural comparisons, Game of Thrones to House of the Dragon, I was thinking like Marjorie's brother, okay, and the relationship he had.
Like, Remley and what was his name?
I don't know. I'm just thinking I just knew Marjorie's brother, and then him just getting smoked at the end from Cersei's bomb,
So about the Sea Snake's son, they introduce him very interesting. So he's a knight, a well-established knight. Obviously, he fought with Daemon, a dragon rider.
Good relationship with Daemon.
Has Daemon's respect actually, which is really, really rare because Daemon doesn't respect anyone. And he doesn't even bother to go out of his way to give anyone respect. And you see that when he's talking to Rhaenyra and Valerian, when he mentions that he's a good man and a good knight. Seems like he's a good dancer, pretty respectable, has his, father and mother pretty pleased with him. Obviously, the king saw him grow up in front of him, so he chooses him to be a match for Rhaenyra. So pretty strong character right off the bat in the book. Pretty, fan friendly, I think. Seems like a good guy. Obviously, he gets his heart broken at the end of the episode, unfortunately. But seems like he's going to be someone who the audience is going to be rooting for. Seems like he'll treat Rhaenyra well. However, those are usually the characters that don't really survive well in this world. So we'll see what happens.
I do think this wedding's going to change his character. Like, he seems very soft-spoken, right? He's a good warrior. He's hiding his sexuality and things like that. And he seems like he's very contained. And I think after losing, right, his lover at his own wedding, like, I think he's about to just unleash. Like, when you talk about, like, they have the shotgun wedding style at the end between Sir Laner and Rhaenyra, like, he doesn't even kiss her. Like, he just says, okay, like, Rhaenyra kisses him on the cheek at their own wedding. Because, like, imagine, like, having the wedding after the person you were going to have an affair with is, like, brutally beaten to his death, where you see his brains, you know? It's like, it's obviously catastrophic, but I think it's going to bring a dark turn to his character. All right. I do want to talk about one more thing before we get to the wedding. We got to talk about Alicent, and we got to talk about Kristen Cole with the big reveal, right? Alicent's about to question Kristen Cole about Rhaenyra and Daemon, and basically Kristen Cole rats on himself. He rats on himself that he was with Alicent, right? So you had him, like, watching over Rhaenyra, and then obviously Alicent wants to know, like, hey, what were the whereabouts? Like, what can you tell me about this night? And then he says they have relations during that time, and Alicent's kind of like dumbfounded. She doesn't know what to think. She's like, I just thought we were talking about Daemon the entire time. Is Rhaenyra whoring herself out like this right now? Like, oh my God, like, she lied to me. My dad was right. He should still be the hand right now. And she's just utterly pissed off that we find out, utterly pissed off at Rhaenyra afterwards, and also, right, her husband, right, the king himself. So I just wanted to get your reaction to Kristen Cole kind of ratting on himself and how it played out and was so impactful for the remainder of the episode.
Yeah, no, I'm not really loving Alicent right now. She's giving me high jealous vibes. Almost like, Rhaenyra is living the life that I wish I could live. Maybe they both growing up imagined, like, they would be these highborn daughters of these wealthy houses. They'd, be able to find the love of their lives very well, have their fun, party, and do all this. And then her father pretty much gave her to the king to literally just have babies. And when you're the queen, you don't really have fun anymore. You have responsibilities. You have to take care of your kids. You are mostly just like a political figurehead at this point. So she sees Rhaenyra around the same age as her, having fun with guys who she obviously has never been able to do. She probably is horny and sexual and like growing into that part of her life where she's not able to explore the way that Rhaenyra is. So I think she's giving me very big jealous vibes. She doesn't need to pry. She doesn't need to ask Sir Cole all these questions. She doesn't need to be so involved in Rhaenyra's life, but she is. She's looking for answers she doesn't, or she's asking questions she doesn't want the answers to, first off. So Christian Cole is an idiot by just revealing that information.
He's a dummy. He does not know how to play the Game of Thrones. Like, he is not made for the Game of Thrones life. Like, he was not made for it.
He's a good-looking guy who knows how to swing a sword. That's the most he is probably good at. First off, he's such a dummy. The way he's just blatantly on.
Wait. I don't want to go to Kristen Cole yet.
Okay.
I did want to.
Yeah, but there's only.
I did want to talk about Alicent versus Rhaenyra because I think you brought that up, and that's something I rewatched episode 4 this afternoon, and as I was watching it, it was so clear. The first 35-40 minutes of that episode, they juxtaposed, right, what Rhaenyra's going through with Daemon, and then Alicent, and they set up what's going to happen in this episode in like her jealousy for Rhaenyra, and I used to think, like, from the first episode, maybe there's like a sexual attraction of Alicent towards Rhaenyra, but it's not about that. She's jealous of the life she's living. Like, they show literally sex scenes with Daemon and Kristen Cole on one end, and then they show, right, Alicent with this guy who's 40 years older than her just humping her, and she just has it's expressionless, right? She's got kids and different responsibilities. And then she even talks to Rhaenyra at the beginning of episode 4 saying, like you are complaining about this life, but all like the men in Westeros are lusting over you right now. And like, you're complaining to me, and I'm like the queen who's living this miserable life that most queens do in the history of Game of Thrones when you're in Westeros. So I just thought you made a really good point there, that it's not sexual at all. It's more of the queen is jealous of a princess's lifestyle, or someone that doesn't even have a right to the throne yet, you know?
Yeah, so I don't think it's sexual between the two of them. I can see why you may have thought that in the beginning of the show. Like, my mind had gone there as well. But I think the show is touching on the sexuality of women during that time period, and how they, just like men, want to have sex, and they want to explore that part of their like their bodies and their mind, and like have these physical relationships. And obviously Rhaenyra, being a princess, even though she's supposed to be noble and save herself before marriage, she can get away with almost anything she wants, right? And Alicent sees that, and she's mad and she's jealous because she wants to do the same things, and unfortunately she has to have sex with the king, who she has no physical attraction to, who she obviously doesn't want to be with. And then she sees Rhaenyra sneaking out with Daemon, who's this valiant, handsome warrior who every woman wishes that they could be with. She calls in Sir Christian Cole to get information from, and then she now realizes that they had a relationship with. In episode 1, you see both Rhaenyra and Alicent both, kind of be Stargraves when they see Sir Christian Cole. Like, obviously, there's feelings there. She may have an attraction towards him. So now when she questions him, she has realized that in the same night, Rhaenyra has been able to experience these two handsome men, which she will never be able to. And she's 100% jealous. Like, listen, it was not just one which made her mad, but now two. Like, it's 100% jealousy. I think she's mad that Rhaenyra is kind of being able to live the life that Alicent wishes she could, but then her father obviously had different plans for her. So when she's like tearing up, like looking away from Sir Christian Cole, I think there's anger. I think there's jealousy. I think there's sadness there. I think there's almost like disappointment, of a sense that like she lied to her. Obviously, she is mad that like her friend did lie to her, but I don't really think it's more of the fact that Rhaenyra, lied to her about not sleeping with someone, because what was she supposed to do? Tell Alicent the truth? Like, I don't think she trusts Alicent right now. I think Alicent should realize that she doesn't trust her. So she's playing herself if she thinks Rhaenyra is going to be completely honest with her at this point in the show. So
you sound like Otto Hightower, because that's the exact warning he gives Alicent at the beginning of this episode, where he's just like, dude, you're just like looking for the answers you want to hear and not actually investigating and using your freaking brain like I do, like Otto does, So in that situation, I felt like she's jealous and she wants to get all this information, but she has to find out these answers because she has to learn how to hear the hard things. And she's been unwilling to do that. She wants to take like her friend at face value, but it turns out like she's playing the Game of Thrones. She has to learn how to play the Game of Thrones. Like, and I just wanted to add one more thing. There's two, the focus, like this helps push Alicent to that moment, right, where her father doesn't live with her anymore, right, doesn't live in with the king, it's not the Hand anymore, and then obviously her friend, she has a very unpleasant sex life, and then her best friend consistently lies to her. It's just reaching a boiling point, and there was not only a moment where it leads into like the wedding and like the grand entrance that she makes, the late entrance. But Kristen Cole, this helps push him, right, towards his actions in the wedding as well, where he knows that people are aware of what he's done right now because he ratted on himself. If he didn't say anything, maybe he doesn't act as crazily, right, and doesn't have that chaotic situation at the wedding. So I think that's also being underplayed a little bit, is the fact that helps push Kristen Cole a little bit, and that's after, right, you have the boat situation or sailing back from Valyria back to Westeros, and you got Kristen Cole basically pouring his heart out to Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra is like, dude, I gotta be the queen. I'm the next in line.
Yeah, no, like another just dumb moment by him. Like, listen, what do you expect her to do right there? Why is she going to run off to Bravos with you and with some tomatoes, like, and completely give up her life? Like, dude, you're dumb. Stop. You got laid. Be happy with it, and just go back to your job, bro. Like, just you're asking for too much here. But no, I completely
He was simping. He was just simping way too hard.
Way too hard. Way too hard. Way too hard. I mean, hey, it's that royal girl. They have that effect, I guess.
I just felt bad for him. I'm like, this dude just doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. And
not.
he had like this. He's like literally, if you look at the choice that Rhaenyra has with like Kristen Cole versus Daemon, polar opposites. Polar opposites. One guy does not care for power. He's just happy to be there. All he's got is his armor. He's sexually attracted to her, just wants to be with her, and doesn't care about what comes with being with Rhaenyra. Then you got Daemon on the other side. Well, yeah, he's sexually attracted to her, but like, look at all the amenities that come with like marrying her, and then he gets to continue like the Targaryen legacy and pick up the line of succession like he thought he was going to have initially. So it's just interesting, Rhaenyra making those two, having that decision to make, but obviously becomes a lot easier to make following the events of the last part of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, he gave her an out. He gave her the opportunity to kind of drop everything, follow her heart, and she chose no. She chose her duties, her responsibilities to the throne, to her family, to the Targaryen name. She understands, the importance of it, which I do like, because you want a king or a queen to, realize that it's not for everyone, and it is an honor and it is a responsibility that you have to take seriously. So, but yeah, no, he was just dumb throughout the episode, to be honest. Just making not the right decisions anywhere. He got laid and he just did not know how to act. Kid in Candy Shop 5.
It was too good for him. It was too good.
Yeah, no, it
was. I did want to say too, this is like the most emotion we've seen from this actor playing Kristen Cole. I can't say I was too impressed by him. It seems like it's a natural like Jon Snow connection. Like people felt like whenever Kit Harington like felt very monotone. No, I'm a Kit Harington guy. No, but that's a but like that, you know what I'm talking about when it's like House of the Dragon is trying to make a natural comparison to another character. First of all, Jon Snow probably wouldn't have done a move like this, right? That Kristen Cole did.
Hey,
and he's also a good leader. Yeah, he's a good leader. I'm just saying, but I'm just saying the natural comparison when you think of the season 8 of Game of Thrones, we're thinking Jon's relationship with Dany, season 7, season 8, right? And you got this dude with the beard, looks like he should be in House Stark, even though he's from Dorne and things like that. It's just, and he's like a little bit emotional, right? Just like Jon Snow is a little bit emotional, but still makes the correct decisions, the moral decisions. Kristen Cole, very moral guy, but it's just like you had this emotional explosion from him a little bit that like we hadn't seen in the first 4 episodes. And to see him just make this crazy turn and start crying, I'm just like, what is happening right now? I thought this dude was just a little bit harder than that. Like he just came across very soft in that situation.
One last thing I just wanted to mention before we get on to wedding. I felt a lot of Tywin Lannister vibes from Otto Hightower, in the sense that he was almost like a better version of Tywin. I don't know if you get those same vibes, just, very calculated, very for his house, understanding the way that Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms works,
tradition,
the way that power works, that tradition works, wanting to, play chess to make sure that his heirs, can get a seat on the throne. Very Tywin Lannister vibes for me. He's the second son of his house as well, so he doesn't even really have rights to any lands back home or anything like that as well. And he still managed to be handed the king. He still managed for his daughter to be the queen, his now grandson to be, a potential heir to the Iron Throne. So very, very Tywin vibes to me.
Great connection. Like I think very similarly. Very, as you said, calculated, but also you get a sense of his frustration with his daughter. Like Tywin would have frustrations with his children, right, and their decisions that they're making. And then when Otto sees the decisions that Alicent's making, like he's no longer there to back her up. He's no longer there to protect her and make sure that she is going to retain power, right, that she's gained because of Otto. So now it's at the point where he's like, you got to do this or else, like, you're just an idiot. He's just like, that's just like do this or else you're screwed and you don't have me, you know, just like make sure you got it. And I think this is where we're going to see Allison really take that conversation to heart. Who knows next time if she ever sees her dad again. That just felt like a very impactful conversation. It's going to lead to the future character, this older version, much wiser, I assume, right, and well-versed character that Allison's going to become.
I can see Otto not recognizing who Allison is the next time he sees her. Like you mentioned, maybe they don't see each other again, but if they do, I can see Otto maybe not even recognizing her anymore.
100%. We got to get to the biggest moment, right? We got to talk about it. History of Game of Thrones. We got weddings. We saw the preview last week. It just made the anticipation skyrocket through the roof. Even when you had a week 1 NFL, Sunday Night Football, once you saw that there was going to be a Game of Thrones wedding happening this weekend, I was locked in. Bears, Packers, screw off, not watching it. I'm watching a Game of Thrones wedding. I rewinded this wedding twice, right? Watched like the last part of it, right? Another time, I thought it did, for the most part, lived up to the hype. Where does this rank among like the greatest Game of Thrones wedding situations when you think about Joffrey, Red Wedding, and now the wedding of the histories? That's what I'm calling it, at least. And that one that what's his face? Viserys called it.
Honestly, I kind of want to say it was my favorite one.
Whoa.
Maybe just because I had no real connection with this Joffrey now. So, I mean, obviously when Joffrey of Game of Thrones, gets poisoned, that's so satisfying. And that's amazing. And then obviously the Red Wedding is polar opposite. You're heartbroken. Robb Stark, Catelyn Stark, murdered by the phrase. You're emotional. You don't know what's going on. You can't believe it. But this one, I don't know. There's a lot of dialogue in this one. There's a lot of different character relationships happening, and then obviously the Red Wedding gives you shock, and Joffrey's death does give you shock as well. But once the commotion happened, I just had no idea what was going to happen, and out of nowhere, I just see like Sir Christian Cole start like throwing haymakers. So that just got me out of my seat, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little prisoner of the moment. Recency bias. So I'm kind of putting this up there a little higher than the other ones, but I really love this wedding episode. Initial reaction and probably my lasting reaction from the whole episode. Allison has entered the room.
Yeah,
she has forced herself a seat at the table, and she is now playing the Game of Thrones. I think that is the one thing that we need to take away from this episode. That, first off, just me knowing the importance her character is in this series, in this book, like Alicent Hightower, this is where she takes that step. Up until now, she has been like a product of her father. She kind of has been given Rhaenyra the benefit of the doubt, still really holding on to that relationship. She obviously realizes that the king chose her, friendship gets ruined. She then has like a son who's supposed to take over Rhaenyra's spot. There's tension there, but you always see her kind of go out of her way to still be friendly with Rhaenyra. When Rhaenyra's salty, when Rhaenyra's, pouting in the corner, she still goes and, consults Rhaenyra. But now, I don't think that's going to happen at all. Rhaenyra's lied to her about 3 times now. She understands from her father's warning that unless she, picks it up, her children are going to be doomed. She is jealous as fuck the fact that Rhaenyra is sucking guys and she's not. And I think she picks it up a notch. She goes Super Saiyan. She wears the green, which, the one of the sons of the new hand notices, who seems like a creep, by the way. And she finally enters
the
room.
Dude.
She got to see the and she's playing the Game of Thrones. So that was my everlasting reaction from this episode. Like, the one thing to take away is Alicent Hightower is now here to play.
I thought, interestingly, that this is the last episode for Emily Carey as Allison Hightower. So when I was like approaching this episode, my anticipation for it, I'm like, there's going to be a couple moments for Allison here, just because it's like a send off for these actresses, right? So like when they are stepping up, they're going to have these moments. It feels like a bit like a season finale, just based on the wedding, the magnitude, the importance, and the fact that these actors are leaving. It feels like this is going to be like season 1A, and then you're going to have season 1B, almost like last season of Sopranos a little bit, right?
So the producer mentioned a little bit of like a mid-season finale, like a mid-season break. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of what they're looking at this as, like, you know, like their mid-season finale.
This was definitely the show-stopping moment, aside from what Kristen Cole's actions at the end. And I think it is sending a message. She almost channels her dad, like her inner like Otto Hightower, just stripped of emotion. She goes, and when she stomps through, interrupts the king's speech. Okay, I'll talk about the king's speech in a second. But when she goes down and she goes to like congratulate Rhaenyra, she doesn't call her Rhaenyra. She calls her stepdaughter. She's like, "Congratulations, stepdaughter." And they're stripped of emotion, not like fake smile, fake smirk, sits down wearing the green, right? So it's like the color that high towers or whatever wear, right? When they send the beacon for war, right? So it says like she means business. She is playing the Game of Thrones, like you said. I thought that was a great moment for her, as opposed to like Rhaenyra. She has like that moment with Daemon, which to me was like the very intense. That was her like moment of the episode and like her send off. But it felt like things were just happening around Rhaenyra. But Allison was like driving this episode, which is kind of crazy. You know, that's what I was kind of feeling at the time.
100% completely agree. It's almost like when Sansa is like sitting on the horse and she just looks Ramsay Bolton in the face and she's like, "Sleep well tonight, Lord Bolton, because you will die tomorrow," and just rides off. Like that same type of energy, just like, first off, Rhaenyra better fucking wake up, because Allison just woke up and upped it 100%. Like, she's here to play right now, and she is gonna come out swinging. Rhaenyra is worrying about men, living her best life, dancing, Daemon bullshit, you know, finding the true love of her life, Sir Christian Cole. She has no realize that Allison is coming for her throne. She's gonna start prepping Aegon to, you know, understand what it means to rule, and she almost has a step above right now, Rhaenyra, because it seems that like she's completely done with the BS and just, you know, ready now. Which Rhaenyra, it didn't seem like that was the case.
I thought it was also hilarious, like when she sits down and the king forgets what he was saying, and he was building up this grand speech, and then he just like forget. I thought of like Joe Biden immediately. Like that's that was racing through my mind. Yeah,
he's giving
I
Biden
can't believe I didn't tweet that immediately. Yeah, terrible. But you brought up the guy with the cane. I think that's going to be a major, not a major player, but he's going to be like a Littlefinger. He's going to be like a Varys. Like, he's someone that I think is going to keep appearing. Creepy guy, just listening, ears
both
around
sides.
the realm, ears around.
Playing both sides.
Yeah, no, he's definitely one of those guys. It's like the janitor, pretty much, of Westeros, of King's Landing, right? And he's just going around, just listening. Oh, I heard that there was a tea going around, and you know, the queen, the princess, must be very ill. I've been hearing that. The maester gave it to her himself, and like just tells like he's a schemer. He's just a total schemer, and you can see it coming.
Well, one, it seems that he is very well invested. He seems that he has connections because he has information that, one, the queen doesn't even have. What did you think of his father? Obviously, his father gets introduced now as the new hand of the king, kind of finally takes a prominent role in the TV show, has a few lines. Both of his sons are now introduced, one being the creepy guy who has like a cane, who obviously seems very like Littlefinger, like Viserys like, with the knowledge,
Evil,
connections, you know, planting little seeds with different people. I feel like he's going to play both sides for sure. And then the other son, who the king actually mentions in an episode prior, who's known as the best warrior in all of the land, who is seen.
I believe it's Harwin, right? I think it's his name.
Yeah, he goes and like kind of picks up Rhaenyra, puts her on his shoulder, takes her out of the commotion that's going on. So he's now been introduced. Obviously, you know, it seems like a fearsome warrior. George R.R. Martin loves himself some warriors. We haven't had too many fight scenes, too many battle scenes yet. It's been pretty dialogue heavy. It's been pretty times of peace right now, but it's Game of Thrones, and I'm expecting some big battle scenes to come. I'm expecting a lot of testosterone, a lot of alpha males figures, butting heads. So, I think that family is gonna be um, some players. Obviously the father, the new hand of the king. We have a warrior. We have a schemer. Let's see what happens.
So talking about the hand, like every time I see him, I think it's Samuel Tarley, like just a more badass version and a more confident version. Like every
Yeah.
time I look
Okay.
at him, I'm like, oh, this is like if like Sam actually had like balls, if he like could put his nuts on the table, that's this guy. But the son, Harwin, was introduced right during the Hunt episode. I think that was episode
Oh, he
3.
was. He was.
If I'm going,
Okay.
he was introduced, and then this episode when I saw him and I saw the hand just like tilt his head a little bit, like go in there, go get the queen. The way he was able to do so, it actually reminds me. We're talking about natural connections to Game of Thrones. He's the next Hound.
Yeah.
That's what
No,
I'm kind of thinking.
for sure.
And he seems like definitely like the Hound became like a fan favorite of Game of Thrones fans. I think this is what we're talking about. Like show like, okay, can we find? I know it's like similar to Game of Thrones or like the natural connections we're making, but also I want to make these characters iconic for who they are. So I'm hoping this guy can turn into something as the years go on. Hopefully, same actor. Seems like he's killing this role. Keep going. Moving on with the wedding though. Let's talk Daemon. Okay, Daemon, grand entrance, right? He's sent away, not invited to the wedding. The king has to pull up a chair to get him a seat at the table, right? He's obviously pissed off, right, that he's there, but he already has enough troubles on his mind right now. He's not going to throw Daemon out at this point. Go ahead, sit down, just don't cause too much trouble, right? Once again, underestimating Daemon Targaryen himself. Him walking in with all the rumors swirling. Oh yeah, he hooks up with his niece. He doesn't care. When they start dancing, he goes up to her. He starts to mingle and start to talk up Lena, right, a little bit. Maybe a relationship, maybe to look for, maybe predictions for the rest of the season. What's going on there? And then he has the interaction with Rhaenyra in front of everybody. Right, a lot of chaos going on. Grabs her by like the bottom of her jaw. Like it looks like they're about to make out in front of everybody. The king's freaking out. And then we have the Kristen Cole situation. So what do you think about Daemon in this short segment, right, after coming back and basically not giving a crap, just going there saying, this is who I am. Let's roll.
I think that this scene allowed Damon to get so much done and have no blood on his hands, which has not been the case at all. Every single time he's ever tried to scheme or make a move, it's either backfired on him or everyone has known that he's done it. Here, he's able to come in. He obviously has the grand entrance, but it's one upped by Allison Hightower. So people kind of forget about everything that he did. And then secondly, there's so much going on in the wedding, but he's able to, talk to different people, talk with the Sea Snake's daughter, talk with Rhaenyra, and then everything happens with Sir Christian Cole, and he just, kind of gets away with everything. The king sees him and Rhaenyra getting close, and before he can kind of get up and stop anything, the commotion happens. So he showed up, he did what he needed to do, and kind of, backed off while Sir Christian Cole went nuts. So I think that was one of the rare cases where he was able to come in, have no blood on his hands, and kind of, leave on a good note.
Yes. I do want to say, like, you knew something big was about to happen once Daemon stood up, right? Once he went to go approach her, talks to Lena, and then he keeps going to talk with Rhaenyra. You're like, things are about to come to a head. I thought initially my prediction was like what I thought I was going to happen amidst the chaos. I thought Christian Cole might have killed Daemon, or not even killed Daemon, but like an attempted assassination of Daemon. And then I saw the knife from Joffrey afterwards. That's like trying to like take care of Kristen Cole, and they're trying to stop him from like bashing his absolute brains in. It just made me think, why would Joffrey try and kill Rhaenyra? Why would he try and do this? But it's just Kristen Cole snapping. So it's like unexpected, unpredictable in that regard. I do think why I thought this was so good compared to other weddings for Game of Thrones This is 30 minutes like of a scene, right? Of a setting at the wedding. Usually they're quick, red wedding. It's like, okay, it's like 5 minutes, we're out of here, end of episode. Joffrey, poison, 5 minutes, right? Just talking crap to Tyrion, out of here. Here it's like it built up to this occasion. It was tense. My heart was racing for most of this time, and I was just waiting for that iconic moment, right? You talk about the Alicent moment, Daemon coming in, and then the chaos afterwards. The camera pans. I thought like the political, like pulling of the strings behind the scenes throughout the season so far has been really good. I think it's been spectacular. And I've noticed the camera pans when they have like these moments. You're looking at everyone's reactions, what's going through their mind right now. Can we predict what they're going to do next, right? So like when the king is talking and it pans to Daemon, what's going through his mind? He's looking at Rhaenyra. What do you think he's thinking in that regard, right? So I think it's very strategic who they're showing and at what moments. They were doing with episode 4 too. And you notice it a lot more when you're rewatching it. Right? You notice it a ton more when you're rewatching it. But I just wanted to commend that. I just thought it's been amazing. Music, really good too. Top notch.
Yeah, no, I agree. One thing, Forgotten Wedding, we didn't mention, obviously, Khal Drogo and Daenerys, when she gets like her dragon eggs, and it's like a Dothraki wedding. She's like, has no idea what's going on. People fucking and fighting and just savagery going on. But yeah, no, I agree. You get a little bit of pre-wedding festivities, which I did also write this down. One thing I took away from those pre-wedding festivities was there's 2 houses in the 7 kingdoms that seem to be the most powerful. First being the Lannister, and then second the Hightower. The reason why I took that away was they were the first to greet the king. And then third, I took away that the Vale seems like a big player. I mean, obviously they withstand all those years and are still a 7th kingdom when the Game of Thrones series happens. They're a kingdom currently right now in House of the Dragon. Obviously, their leader was married to the brother of the king. So it seems like they're a powerful player. It seems that they probably are going to be someone to look forward to in the show as, like a house that either has a relationship with the throne and the crown or is against the crown. So, but yeah, no, those 3 houses I took away seem like they are some of like the more powerful houses, some of the bigger players right now in Westeros, Lannisters, Hightowers, and the Vale.
I think the Vale is interesting too because you talked about Valyria, what's going on there, how it has a presence in the original Game of Thrones, but not like we're seeing here. The Vale is something that we associate with like Robb and Aaron, and we talk about like Battle of the Bastards, how the Knights of the Vale come out of nowhere, but we don't have a strong like familiarity with that house itself. So this is an opportunity for this prequel, right? This show to dive into sectors of Westeros that we didn't get as much. Less House Stark, not obviously a lot more House Targaryen here, but no Stark, barely any Lannister, right? Let's go to Valyria, let's go to the Vale and see what they have to offer. And we have Lady Rhea, right? Obviously she dies, and like you have Daemon bashing her head in, his wife. You have that revenge aspect at the wedding too, where Lady Rhea's uncle goes up to Daemon and knowing that he killed, right, his cousin, or I think our niece in that regard, right? No, so you have that moment where it's like that's going to be tension filled. You got to like keep your eyes out for that. Like these small, minute conversations, they become bigger, right? And you can't forget Game of Thrones. All details matter.
Yeah, I think in the world of Westeros, the Vales are actually pretty prominent. I mean, like George R.R. Martin always mentions them. They were actually one of the 3 houses that rebelled against House Targaryen in Robert's Rebellion. It was, Baratheon, Starks, and the Vales. So the reason why I think that in the Game of Thrones, they're actually not really mentioned that much other than those 2 times that you just mentioned was because all of their prominent male family figureheads are gone. Jon Arryn's dead right when the show starts. Lisa Tully or whatever, Catelyn's sister who takes over, is like a psycho bitch. Her son doesn't seem like he has anything to really do in the show. He's like a little pussy, and like I think does he die or whatever. Littlefinger takes over. And then pretty much they're just loyal to Sansa after that, and then the North they kind of just become one kingdom. I'm not sure who takes them at the end of the show in Game of Thrones, but so I think that they've always been a prominent house and been pretty powerful and important when it comes to like the history of everything that goes on in Westeros. But when it came to the Game of Thrones, they just had no male figurehead left. So we'll see how it plays out, in House of the Dragon. But yeah, so they're bringing in more houses in the show now, which I like. It's growing. Obviously, and they're gonna continue just talking about Targaryens and like kind of like how everything happened within that house. But I like when they bring in different things. But yeah, no Stark action yet, really at all, other than like a few scenes with
yeah. It was like confirming the succession of Rhaenyra. I think we just had the House Stark, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, they said it! Great, thank God." But I did want to talk about the moment that Kristen Cole bashes Joffrey's face in. This was a part of the episode where I was confused a little bit. I think it was like obviously on purpose. They want the audience to be like kind of like part of the crowd, trying to sort through what actually happened. I didn't know where Damon went. I rewound it a few times. I was like, where'd Damon go when all this is happening? I literally don't see him anywhere. So I'm questioning, did he just bail out of that situation? But I also, my only beef with this moment, yes, it was unpredictable, but like, was it warranted? Like, did Kristen Cole, the audience feel like it was justified that he snapped like that when he was being threatened blackmail by this Joffrey guy? It made me think like that conversation with Allison was so important when he ratted on himself. When he's watching Rhaenyra get married right in front of him and then being threatened with blackmail, I just didn't know if it was enough where I'm like, yeah, like I see it now. Like it made sense that he bashed that dude's face in. To me, it just felt a little unnecessary, but I kind of get it at the same time. Did you think it was justified?
I actually dug really deep into it, and I think that Sir Christian Cole was kind of thinking a couple layers deeper than the normal fan might think. So I think that he realized that what happened between him and Rhaenyra could ruin her so much and be so detrimental to the claim of the throne. And he realized that individual Joffrey now knows that information, and the only way that he can protect the real true love of his life, who's Rhaenyra, was to now go and murder the one person who had information that would be detrimental to her claim at the throne.
Wow.
So I think that he understood that, listen, this man now knows information that will be very, very bad to his love of his life. So he may need to sacrifice his own honor, his own stand in the King's Guard, his own life maybe, but he needs to get this done pronto. Because think about the timing. He could have killed this Joffrey guy anytime, but he did it at the wedding and at the dinner party, like when all the guests were still there. He understood there was no time to be wasted here. Like Joffrey can go and tell this information to anyone. He already understood.
He literally he met him the first time. He just goes up to him immediately and says, "Hey, I know like you're hooking up with like the princess."
Yeah, it was because he realized that this dude knows this information. I need to go and kill him now because he's going to go and ruin Rhaenyra's claim to the throne.
Right. And it just made me think, though, like, wouldn't like Sir Laner maybe say something, almost do like an NBA leak to like Woj or something, get the agent to spread some rumors. Like, wouldn't Sir Laner probably do that? Because he obviously has some emotions now tied with this whole circumstance. And so like I think he would kind of like do something about it, right? Or say something about it. Now that he's killed his lover, right?
So you can take away the fact that Sir Christian Cole does not kill himself, right? Allison stops him.
Yeah.
Okay. And they don't show any repercussions or like anyone questioning Sir Christian Cole, like, hey, what happened? Why did you just do that? Like, they pretty much just see him kill Joffrey, and then they go straight to having Rhaenyra and him get married. So there's no questioning, there's no asking of, hey, why did you do this? I'm presuming we're gonna find all this out next episode, but That was crazy.
I don't know what Kristen Cole's going to do for the future of the show. That's the only thing. If he's not going to have, he's
He might be
probably not going
done.
to
His
have this
character might be
relationship
done.
with Rhaenyra. But the fact that he didn't, maybe he's going to sail away like he talked about, like previously, what he wanted to do with Rhaenyra, that certainly seems like an option. But the fact that he didn't kill himself in that situation makes me think he's going to return. I just don't know in what capacity. Like, is he going to be someone that Alicent confides in? Because obviously he revealed some very telling information to her. He sees how honest he is. Maybe it's someone that's good to have on her side. It made me think like potentially this is a relationship, or like this is a dynamic that's going to be like something to look for. But at the same time, I'm just like, maybe like if he died, like that, like if your theory, right, of why he did this, right, it's kind of to protect Rhaenyra. I think it would be like a tragic, but also makes sense if he did die right at the end of this episode.
100% agree. I'm completely foreshadowing here, but I think one, Allison might like Sir Christian Cole. Two, I was initially thinking that Sir Christian Cole might like be done with the show right now. They might not bring him back, but I can completely see like in some capacity him coming back some years later and there being like a dynamic where he may have feelings for Allison and then Rhaenyra finds that out and then her previous feelings with him come back to its. And again, this is all speculation, just a little bit of foreshadowing or guessing here, but I kind of felt like she had a little bit of feelings because when he asked for like a merciful death instead of torture, it almost seems that like she's like kind of disappointed in him too, almost like she's kind of sad that like that was the guy that Rhaenyra did it with. So maybe she saved him because she does
Potential
like him.
revenge.
Yeah, no, it could be.
Like it's like the jealousy we're talking about. Like all of a sudden she like openly like starts having an affair with Kristen Cole because like she now is like kind of ruthless, right? Looking at her actions during the wedding, it's definitely something to look for. I had something else I wanted to say, but I kind of lost it. Any other final thoughts on the wedding before we wrap up the episode?
It seems that the Sea Snake's daughter is going to be a major player now. Maybe a little bit of chemistry between her and Damon. Obviously, they might foreshadow some of that in the trailer to come for next episode. But she seems like she's kind of she seems like she likes him. She mentions how he's a good warrior. I'm not sure if she mentions if he's handsome or not, but she kind of has a crush on him. Obviously, Allison coming in, guns blazing. Listen, bitches, you forgot about me. Don't forget about the Hightower house. Don't forget about my father. He was done wrong. Like, I'm wearing green. I'm ready here. I'm ready to fight. Rhaenyra just being not lost, but just, if she really wants to be the heir and if she really wants to be the queen, she needs to start picking it up a little bit. She's definitely worried about the wrong things right now. She's kind of caring a little bit too much about her sexual life and her wedding happiness, which are all good things and like a girl her age should be worrying about. But if she really wants what she claims she does, which is the Iron Throne, she needs that game face that Allison had. She needs the hello stepdaughter, congratulations stepdaughter. She doesn't need the like living in her own world, running off with Damon and giving her betrothed the green light to dine with whoever he likes, and she can do the same things. Like she needs to be making moves. She needs to be making alliances. Like she needs to be having that same like Otto Hightower energy. And then lastly, the king seems like he's gonna die any day. So
Yeah, it's like I'm interested. You brought up Millie Alcock, who's just finished her run as Rhaenyra. Like maybe over these years, does she get wiser? Does she mature? We see her
I hope
holding
so.
babies in the future, and like in the previews for the next episodes. I think it's like I hope that we could still change these actors, but keep the core character and make it almost seem seamless. I know it's going to be all it's. I think it's almost facing backlash no matter what, just because we've already, through 5 episodes, audiences have grown attached to these actresses, right? And they want them to stay. And like, how can you top these actors? Because like they're arguably the best performers, in my opinion. I thought Millie Alcock's amazing. Emily Carey's very good. I think Risa Fons as Otto Hightower is up there too. And like, I think Patty Considine as the king is stellar. Like, I think he's been killing it. But we'll see what they do. I did want to say one thing. I remember what I forgot. It would have been really like cemented that this is Game of Thrones if Kristen Cole did kill himself.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't want him to, but I kind of did.
It would have been where Allison like goes to try and stop him, like says Sir Kristen, and then he stabs himself dead after he just bashed someone's brains in. It was like Oberyn Martell style, right, in the mountain. Like having that situation, the incest, and then you have like the dynamics going on before, like everything with the wedding. It would have been an ultimate Game of Thrones episode where it's like nothing held back. You're going to kill the best looking dude on the show, right? Not giving a crap how much you like him. He just had his most emotional moment in the history of the show. End him, you know? That would have been Game of Thrones.
That's one thing that I'm feeling that this show is lacking. Like they're like almost like making it too fan friendly and like too like, I don't know. But we'll see. You know, it's only been 5 episodes right now, so we'll see what happens.
It has only been 5. Like maybe we're looking at like end of season 1, someone dies. But like if we're going centuries upon centuries with House of the Dragon, like we're gonna lose these characters at the end of the season anyway. Like if you want to kill them like through the season, they'll have everyone die like episode 9, you know, into episode 10 was kind of like just everyone recovering or like the events that just happened. You know, you get the huge battle, someone's gonna die, but we don't have that many warriors right now other than Sir Laenor that are actually notable with Lannister, Jason Lannister, and obviously Kristen Cole if he's still around. You know, we'll see. All right.
Yeah. And one last thing just on Rhaenyra is one thing I have noticed about her is like other than like her father obviously naming her the heir, she has like done no political moves yet. Like I remember this one line in like the original Game of Thrones when like Daenerys is like in like the Bravos area and she's like trying to get ships, right? And she's like, oh, like, you know, I'm gonna go back to the Seven Kingdom and get the throne that's like rightfully mine. And like she gets like questions, she's like why is that throne yours? Why? Because your dad sat at it one time. Like no one wants to give you that claim, right? So Rhaenyra hasn't really made any moves right now, other than the fact that she just keeps saying that, like, oh, you know, I'm the rightful heirs. Like, what she needs to prove to people around her that she can be a good leader, that she actually knows what she's talking about. She knows how to play the political game. She knows how to lead. Like, she kind of needs to get a little bit more mature. So let's see what happens in the next 10 years.
Insanely immature when it comes to any duties she has, right? That a queen will eventually have, even a princess should have. Like even choosing Kristen Cole as like the next member, like leader of the King's Guard, right? She's like supposed to be siphoning through all these candidates. She's like, okay, you suck. I want this guy, good looking guy. I saw him at the jousting tournament, and he seems like he's like right up her alley. Boom. So like just skipped and doesn't siphon through everybody else. She's talking about suitors at the beginning of like episode 4. She's like doesn't listen. She doesn't like take anybody seriously. Okay. Skip this. We're not going to go for suitors. Like when it comes to doing the duties of a queen, she just ignores them completely, and she just mopes around and says, like, I should be the next. I'm worried about like the line of succession. I'm like, show that you can actually do the job first, because it's very clear that you're immature. Like, how is this gonna carry? How is this gonna carry for the rest of the season? Will that maturity show? Because it seems like Allison already has it. Like she was mature even before she was queen, you know, becomes queen, and now she's like learned the hard way how to play the game. And now with Viserys dying, it seems like she's prepared, right, to take on the challenges that are going to come before her. And then you have Rhaenyra, who has like this controversial wedding, right? You have these rumors of incest like running through Westeros. You're already going to be, right, a line of succession. You're going to be the first woman on the Iron Throne potentially, right? A lot of things aren't going your way. You just does not seem ready whatsoever.
No, she has not played the game well at all right now. She's down. She's down in like the 3rd inning big. So she needs to get her game face on, and she needs to get going. So we'll see. But it also makes you not want to root for her, because you want someone who's like competent to be sitting on the Iron Throne. You want someone who can handle that. You don't want just someone who gets it because of their their birthright. You want someone who's going to be actually be able to do a good job.
Right.
So hopefully she she learns a little bit. She gets more mature. We'll see what happens next episode. Great trailer. I mean, just to end on that note, great trailer. I thought it was a great trailer. Like I'm pumped for the next episode. So we'll see.
Yeah, just like as we're wrapping up, just that I'm not like all the young actors coming in makes me nervous. Like whenever you have young actors on a prestige TV show, I just don't trust it. Like looking at the history of HBO shows, I just think of The Sopranos immediately. Like when you have like young actors jumping on here, and they're going to be like major players through the future like of this potentially the show, definitely for like these next 5 episodes, it just makes me a little bit nervous after like what we've seen so far from the previous actors.
I think they might have like limited roles in the next couple of episodes, but I agree. I agree. Let's see how they are. Like, is this new Aegon gonna be like a job-free piece of shit, like kind of entitled? You don't want to root for him, or is he gonna be more of like the brand type of kid where he's like seems like he has a good head on his shoulders, he's a good kid, and you do want to root for him. So, but like one thing to mention what you just said about like the kid actors kind of taking more of a prominent role, that could just be for the remainder of this season. If the show does get, I think it did get a green light for season 2, but they can always skip some ages,
Oh, yeah.
in the next season. So we'll see.
I mean, season 3 is probably going to be greenlit in a month. It's just like that's how fast they do it. And this show's a banger. We're all loving it. All right, thank you, Awn, our Game of Thrones correspondent. Right, thank you for hopping on today. I think you're gonna like you. Welcome to like the Drive-In family. All right, let's get you on like for next episode. Let's go on for the rest of season 1 as long as you're available, man. If you want to come on, open invite.
I'm about it, man. I had a blast right now. I can't wait to discuss it with Ricky. I want to pick his brain too, but let's do it. I don't know how many more episodes we have left.
I thought it was 10. Traditionally, Game of Thrones have 10, except for season 7 and 8. It might be 9, but I'm gonna presume 10.
Boom. All right. I'll see you all next Sunday. I really appreciate it, Doc.
Of course. Let me just send the audience out with the channels, and then we're out of here. All right. So thank you for listening to episode 147 of the Drive-In podcast. Make sure you're following the feed. We got the checkup coming this week. We're gonna do She-Hulk. We got Daredevil coming on for the next episode of She-Hulk. We'll be breaking it down. Rings of Power. We'll give you a little recap of that. Banger of a show too. I don't know if it's going to be able to really keep up with the legs that the House of the Dragon seems to have. It seems like that's generating all the buzz. Lord of the Rings, probably a little bit more for the old heads, right? Yeah, make sure you're tuned in. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like the video. If you want to see more of these recaps and the checkup, right? We go over the biggest movie news and all the best trailers going, and we do a nice little review. Make sure you're following the social channels, Twitter, Instagram, at the Drive-In. Yeah, that's going to do it for episode 147 for Dr. O and Awn. Until next time, we will smell ya.
Swerve.